Welcome, Øystein, to Metallarium Pages. It's a great pleasure to talk with you about Borknagar, this new album Fall, and obviously more things related to the metal world in general. So we start by asking, I think that a common question in all the interviews, why the band delayed more than 5 years to release this new album? Oh, 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, we had a little bit of the pandemic going in the world, like for 1.5 year, 2 year, and yeah, we was kind of we were supposed to go touring with True North, first U.S. tour and then festivals and then European tour, and we had a lot of plans, but of course, as everybody else, we couldn't do much during the pandemics. So we did different stuff. I did some album productions here in my studio and stuff, and then after the pandemics, we wanted to finish up the release of True North in a sense. We wanted to tour the album and wanted people to hear the new songs and stuff. So we did that first, and when we finished the last tour with Moonspell and Insomnium, like a year ago, something like that, maybe a bit more, we decided to start working on a new album. And yeah, we have been busy, so it's we haven't really wasted any time, but it took a while. Yes.
Okay. Well, in this case, Fall is your 12th album on your career. A great success for a band is still since you are here, you are on the metal scene since the 90s. Okay. You are one of the biggest bands there in Norway. So for these kind of aspects, so why or what Falls represents to you in these times, and also what in general what Falls represents to you?
It's another a chapter in our musical adventure, I guess. It's a new album. It's a 12th album, and it feels fresh. It feels a good continuation from True North in so many ways. But also, as everybody else, I guess, we are influenced. We are kind of inspired by our lives. What we see, what we hear in this world, and of course, we don't go Greenpeace about environmental stuff. We don't deal with politics in our music or lyrics. But of course, the wars going on in Europe now, the pandemics, the climate change that we see well way too much here in Norway right these days, actually. That of course is something that has inspired us as musicians, and but not directly. We don't want to deal with politics really, but still, we want to, yeah, show the beauty of nature and all the good things in life in a sense. So that's our approach on it. And Fall is a perfect continuation from True North, I think, and it's a very nice step forward in terms of expanding, being more diverse in the music, and to bring the listeners onto a musical adventure, because that's important for us.
Okay. Now, into these aspects about what now the styles of Borknagar has. Now, I remember usually when the band starts since your first album, then you always change album and album. Each album is very different than the previous one. That's one of the good things that the Borknagar has since the beginning. You can compare this Fall with the one Winter Twice, or can compare with Quintessence. Yeah, obviously your essence is there, but your music is still growing up over the times.
Yeah.
And obviously the styles for the reviewers is the most difficult thing to put. Hey, what kind of style plays Borknagar? Some people say that is bike and folk progressive, other people say there's black metal with the folk elements, other people, a lot of things happen. A lot of things happens in your style. So for you, what is the exactly way to label Borknagar?
you know I've spent 30 years making music that I've tried to avoid any kind of musical tags, because that is some of the basic idea with this band, that I want to, my music should be beyond words. It should be beyond any terms, or if it's, you know, it's definitely an element of progressiveness. There is definitely an element of folk music, even orchestral music. But, you know, I've tried to make a musical entity, a musical expression that you don't really can pinpoint, if you get my point. I want that is the fundamentally that's the idea of the band, you know, to make music that is kind of an own musical world in a sense. So yeah, you know, my answer is basically that, you know, I've tried for 30 years now to avoid this death metal, black metal, progressive, all that stuff, because to me that doesn't make sense. It feels like a limitation. It feels like a, I don't know. And also, you know, after all these years, I've done so many albums. I don't feel I need anymore to explain myself. You know, I kind of, to me, it's so important to just do the music we want to do, whether that is jazz or blues or metal. You know, I don't really care, to be honest. As long as the music is cool. So it's kind of, I'm a bit in a rebellion against all this, you know, because we humans, we tend to, you know, always group things, and this is this and this is that, and, you know, those people are those people and we, you know, to me music should be universal. To me music should be beyond words, should be beyond politics and religion and all that. Music to me, I'm not religious as a person. I'm an atheist, hardcore atheist also, but if there is any religion in this world, to me, that is music. That is the big thing, you know, above, you know, the daily life, above politics, above all these issues that we deal with daily. So yeah, I guess that's my very short answer.
Okay, okay. Well, talking about now especially for the growth of the band musically and technicality, because it's normally you when you
Mm,
start this project at the 1994 and release your first album Borknagar, at that time you are young people, you are trying to do the best thing that I can. But
mm,
with this approach, the technicality and the composition and the writing process, obviously you're always you at that time you are very younger to compose much the things in this first album we hear, or the older name we hear, a lot of rawness, because it's normally at that time you are still you are still growing with the instruments at that time. But now with your 12th album, you are more musicians, better composers, better musicians to record all these albums. But a counterproductive thing, or the fan thinks differently, is that in some ways the bands lose the rawness of the beginning. That's normally because you're still growing. That's normally you are getting bigger composers, writing process, etc. But the fans didn't think differently, and the fans attach with the previous one for the first two or the first three. That depends of the taste of the fans in this general. So,
mm.
but the question goes to the what's your opinion about when a music grow up over the years, even with you 12 albums, you are you're much better musician, much better composer, etc. So, but at the same time, you lose the essence from the rawness from the beginning, because you are not the same as you are in the 90s. You are different. You are much better. You are much etc. But the fans thinks differently, prefers the rawness in some ways.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, to me, you know, honesty in music has always been important, and I cannot deny, you know, the fact that when we did the first album, I was 19 years old. I was a different guy. Of course, I was the same person, but I was much, much younger, you know. I was a different life, a different situation. And, you know, in life in general, it's like I don't hang around with the guys, you know. My friends are different nowadays, maybe. Maybe not everybody, but a lot of my friends these days is different than when I was back when I was 19 years old, you know. And my thing is that life changes, life progress, lives, you know, I'm now 48 years old. And in name of honesty, I couldn't do, it's not the right thing for me to do anymore, like an album like we did back in 96, for example. That would be fake. That would be, trying to do something I'm not anymore, So for me, this is all about honesty. And of course, some people, some people it's like, yeah, the demo is best, the rehearsal tape is best. And, it's and fine, cool, go with it, enjoy that, But for me as a musician, it's so important to be able to, mature together with my music. I'm growing older. I have much more experience from life now than I had when I was 19 years old. I have kids now. I have traveled the world many times now, I have a different outlook on the world in general. I'm a different person. I'm 48 now. So of course my music will be different in name of honesty. Of course, no problem. Give me, bunch of money and I could do a second debut album in theory. But the thing is that I don't find that interesting as a musician, I can completely understand that some fans enjoy the first album or the second album or something like that, or a demo that we did never have. But for me, it's the whole thing about, this is a life commitment for me, doing music. It's such a big part of my life. And in order to survive this through the whole music business in the long run, you have to be honest with yourself as a musician. You cannot fake anything. You cannot, try to be 19 again and stuff like that. That doesn't work, in my opinion. I mean, a lot of people try to. A lot of people try to do, again and again the same album. But at some point, nah, it doesn't really, it doesn't convince me anymore. Sorry, guys, you're 50 years old now. You should, come on. So that's my honest opinion about that case. But of course, music is the beauty of music is that it's all up to the listener. Some people like it, some people don't like it. But I cannot care too much about that. I kind of just do the music I want to do, and that's it. If people like it, perfect. If people don't like it, okay, no problem.
Mhm. Okay. Okay. Now talking about your discography, especially you made 11 albums with Century Media. You are with them with the second album since your second album, and
Mm,
then you have and then have been with them for over 20 years. and
mm,
and now obviously the things changed during the 20 years. At the beginning, when you stay with Century Media, their comrades, their friends, etc. happens because there's the first encounter of the band. But
mm.
now, for for over 20 years in the rooster, so the things is still like the same like the first time, like comrades, or perhaps the things change because this now is more like a business for them, and the comrade lose on time.
No, I mean, that's the beauty. I mean, of course, things have changed. Now, Sony Music, the big corporation, Sony Music owns Century Media. And a lot of people thinks that, okay, everything has changed and, we only deal with business people. But the truth is that Century Media still exists. And Century Media still is the same. I mean, not all the people at the record company, because people, change job, you get new jobs and stuff like that. But I still have a lot of good friends on Century Media that have been friends to me since day one, actually. I have many names that I'm very good friends with. Also on a personal level, I'm texting them, sending them a New Year's, message or something like that because it's good friends of mine. And what I love about Century Media, and that's the reason why I was still signed to Century Media, is that the people behind, people working there, is still very passionate about their music, and it's really personal. Still, I have very good friends at Century Media that I've had for since the 90s actually, and that's the truth. That's the truth. It's a great label that in that way. It's a really good. We talk the same language. We have learned to know each other, and we share the same passion for music. We do, even though Century Media is a big label and all that stuff, But and that has been important also for me as a musician and all this, because the band has been growing bigger and it's more, commercial. There is more money involved and all that stuff. but it doesn't change my relationship to my music. I still cling on to, you know, what is most important for me is the music. I always say it to my guys in the band or people who ask that. For me, this starts with music and ends with music. There is not anything coming in between, you know. If I decide to quit the band or stop making music, that's because of the music, not because of label or conflicts or live or not live or whatever it is. If I decide to do a new album, I do it because I want to do new music, not because a label tells me to do it or because somebody, the fans wants me to do a new album. You know, for me, this all is about music. Everything else is secondary in my opinion.
Okay, okay, nice details. Interesting. A detail that always be difficult for me is choosing an album that represents the band's sounds, especially because, as I said, you continue growing with your own element in each album. So for this, it's very difficult to choose which album is the best one over the other one because I prefer a lot of albums for you. Coincidences, Empiricisms, Epic Universe, Winter Tribes. And the list is still going on. So for that, so therefore, could we choose an album that an album in your 12 albums that represent that represent that the good change of the Borknagar, or perhaps the album that has the main elements for Borknagar since there to now?
Well, yes, I mean, um, I don't know. I mean, to me, it's a bit hard to answer really because I love all the albums in different ways. You know, there are some albums that I'm not too happy with because of the mixing or the, you know, details like that, maybe some mistakes or whatnot. But I think, you know, for me, this has been a long musical journey, a long musical adventure, so to speak. So for me, all these albums is connected together in a way, and every album has a purpose in a sense, you know. And I think that, you know, maybe if you listen to the latest album and the first album, you will get the framework of what we are doing. And in between, you know, you maybe have a little bit, you have Origin album, which is an acoustic album, for example. And we have Epic album, which is my least favorite album of our discography. To me, that is more like a demo in a sense. I don't know why, but it's just my feeling of it. But you know, if you listen to the first and the last album, I think you will get some idea where this musical journey has been going, so to speak.
Mm, okay, okay. Another detail that caught my attention since the beginning is that the just four albums has two words on their titles, like the Olden Domain, like the Acre Course, Winter Tries, and Fall True North are the four albums that has two words on their titles, but the other albums has just one word: Borknagar and Quintessence, Spirits, and now Fall. So for me, it's like you prefer always to release an album with the title name with just one word. So perhaps you want a prediction, or perhaps you want a link down to with the albums of the titles with one word and no two words, three words.
You know, to me, an album title is quite important, and actually, that's a fact that the final piece of the puzzle, even after the album is finished, we have done the cover, we have done, you know, band photos and everything, then we decide the album title, and for me, that is important because, you know, the album title should be somehow the spearhead of the album, some kind of the conclusion, or not that conclusion really, because that's the wrong word, but more the kind of the melting point of the album, or the core of the album, or something like that. And I always want, you know, I always want album titles that have different meaning in a sense, you know. I don't want to I want an album title that has different layers. This, for example, Fall, that can kind of associate or resemble waterfall, but that it can also represent, you know, the fall of man, or the change of season, as in, you know, the fall of summer. and stuff like that. So it's, to me, it's a bit, I try, rather than, preaching or sending out a slogan or making a movie, title or something like that. To me, it's more like a question mark. This album deals with, fall in different way, different scopes, different, and I leave it up to the listeners a little bit, to get their own interpretation of what they um yeah, room for their own thoughts, so to speak, because that is very important for me, that we are not just an entertaining band, but we are also a band that kind of want to invite the listeners into the music, to take part of the musical journey, to feel, to kind of get the same feelings about the musical adventure as us. So for me, it's a bit complicated to explain all this, but it's just the way I'm thinking, basically, that it should be a little bit open door to the listener, so that they can make their own relationship to the music, and we don't want to be any preachers or anything like that, more kind of invite people into our musical world, in a sense.
Okay. Well, okay. So we're very close to end this interview, Øystein. And
Mhm.
for this aspect, what kind of plans do you have to promote this new album? Perhaps you will embark again. Perhaps you will embark a new tour in Latin America. Who knows? Who knows
Yeah.
this year, next year? Who knows? Or perhaps you will embark tours in Europe, Asia. Or perhaps you will present more videos for this new fall. Or who knows? Or perhaps you already composed a new album. Who knows?
Yeah, yes. Everything, basically. But yeah, we are we are basically just now doing a lot of promo work, of course, doing interviews. And I've been a couple of days ago, I was in Oslo again to record another music video. So we have a couple of music videos coming up, or at least two more, I guess. And the album would be released in February, and we will do some festivals in Europe. We will do tour in Europe, co-headline tour with a quite big band, but I can't say more about it because it's not official yet. So there will be a lot of, live shows in Europe this year. And next year we are kind of thinking, planning to go to the USA tour. And then we also really, really hope to get back to South America and Latin America to do more tours and shows in South America. I mean, honestly, that is my favorite place of, playing shows. That is in South America and Latin America. It's just something with a passion and the audience, and it's such a great place on earth, I think. So we would love to come back at some point, as soon as possible, to South America.
Mm. Okay, well, talking about one of the last questions, talking about now about your previous Latin American tour last year, especially in November. So how was the experience to play again here in Latin America? Because you play in 3 dates and also you play in Mexico Metal Fest on Monterrey. So how was your experience in your last Latin American tour?
Was just fantastic journey for us. I mean, the audience is great. We played good shows, and the response from the audience was just mind blowing. Santiago was, every date was great for us. There was a lot of friendly people, nice people, new and old friends from us, of course. And you guys also have, so much delicious food. And we are a bunch of guys in the band. We are, the drummer. Our drummer is a chef, high-end chef, actually, in Oslo. So we when we are traveling and doing live shows and stuff, we actually spend some time and, energy to find good restaurants and try nice food. And to me, or to us, the food is a very important part of the journey when we are touring.
Yeah.
So, and also, as I said before, the people in South America is so, kind to us. Always, invited to, and get gifts and all that stuff. It's just mind blowing. It's so great. So yeah, as I said before, and I truly mean it. I mean, touring in South America is really the best thing we can do as a band, actually, when it comes to doing live shows. It's such a great we had such a great time last time.
Okay, okay. So, well, talking about now, what we spoke a little, we spoke about a little about of the past especially for you, because
Mm.
you create also before you have Borknagar since the beginning. Also, you present a band that I remember very well. The name is Molested, one of the few death metal bands in the 90s, with Cadaver, with Algol. I think 3 or 4 bands at that time they played death metal especially in Norway. Mostly of the
Mm.
bands at that time plays black metal or other kind of stuff. It's more black metal at that time. And just you are
Mm.
Cadaver and Algol are the few bands that release an album and obviously really play since the 80s, since the 90s. So what do you remember about the Molested times in your career? Because you are one of the few bands at that time.
You know, it's such a long time ago. I mean, we started up, I think, I don't exactly remember, but I think we started up in 89, 90 or something like that, rehearsing in the garage of my parents. I remember me and a drummer he had a very cheap drum kit, and I had a very cheap guitar, and we couldn't play anything. But we had our mission, we had our goals, so we just made some riffs and made some crazy death metal. And I remember at that time it was very. I think the good thing about it back then, we was very, very passionate about it. We was rehearsing every second day for, I think it was 4 years, every second fucking day. I mean, there was absolutely no excuse for not, rehearse. We rehearsed very much for many years. And it was good times. I mean, I learned to play guitar doing that. I learned to know the music business doing that. I got a lot of connections in the tape trading world, in the underground scene, with people, all over the place. I remember at some point back then in the early 90s, I had to go to the post office and fill a bag with letters, and then I go back home and write an answer and send flyers and stuff, and then I sent it back to those guys. So it was even back then it was kind of a lifestyle underground movement. So that was a very important part of my career, I would say, because it made a foundation of my network, the people I know. I still have friends from that time. I still have friends that I've been friends with people all over the world for over 30 years now. We are still good friends, and it's crazy. So all this of course, this laid the ground for us to later on get going with a new band, and the rest is story, basically. So it was a good time. It was, it was young. It was like 16, 17 years old, and the testosterone at that time, and we was like really, we wanted to conquer the world and stuff like that. So it was a good time, definitely. But we was very young though. I mean, very young. So it was what it was. But in the end of the day, it made my career.
Okay, okay, well, that's nice. As you can see now, and one of the last questions also, um, as you can see now, a lot of festivals, a lot of people are asking for someday perhaps Molested will gather again for just one show or perhaps just one play in the festival, because we are living in a retro movements to see all bands or just one bands with one album, one demo, etc. to see now alive. Perhaps did you receive some proposals to play with Molested, a few shows, or perhaps, who knows, you are a very inspired person with the music, and perhaps in the works, you are preparing perhaps a second album from the Blood Run or the continuation from the Blood Run just for fun.
Yeah, we have got some offers to do live shows. We have actually some big festivals have offered us quite a lot of money, but that is not going to happen. It is again, back to this honesty thing. I'm not 16 years. I can't play that stuff anymore. I really can't. I've tried to play some of the risk, but I can't. I'm too old. And I am no, the whole thing with Molested is something I want to keep to the past. I'm proud of it. I'm really proud of what we did back then, and it really made my career and all that. But I want to leave it like it is, kind of thing. So there will be no live shows with Molested, or there will be no new albums for sure. Even though people offer us a lot of money to do it, money doesn't, in this case, money doesn't talk, so to speak.
Okay, okay. And now one of the last questions. Now returning to the Borknagar. So we know about the Winter Soul was a huge key in Winter Tries, and a huge album for you, and especially for the fans also. And now since then, the boys from Winter Soul, Isis Vortex, and Lars, what has the essence for the Born at an album. Then you decide to just play IS Vortex, just much better to say Vortex and all. Vortex and Lars are just vocals on the band, especially for the distinction from Borknagar. So now without Wintersoul, and now with two vocals in mind for this new albums upcoming, and more details. So how were your experience to work with Wintersoul at that time, and now with you with both two voices?
Wintersog is a very good friend of mine, one of my dearest friends, and also a brother of music. I mean, we have had so much great, musician going between us in terms of not only Borknagar, but also the band we had, Cronian. So, I'm a big fan of his work, and I hope he is a fan of my work, and we are really good friends. But at some point in time with Borknagar, there was he wasn't into the idea about touring, for example. At that time, he had a different life situation. He wasn't able to do, and the rest of us really wanted to go and do more live. Even me, I've always also been a little bit critical, or, my favorite wasn't doing live shows, to be honest. My favorite was always to make music. But the last couple of years, I see the value of doing live shows, to meet people, to travel around the world and stuff like that. So before we did True North, we kind of decided, okay, now we want to take a step further. We want to travel. We want to play more live shows. We want to, travel out and meet the fans and stuff like that. And Andreas wasn't able, or he didn't want to do that. So, we had a nice talk about it, and there was absolutely no problems. And he, of course, understood at that point that we had to leave him behind. But I mean, the situation for us now with two vocalists instead of three is perfect. I mean, Simon is probably my favorite vocalist ever anyway. And Lars is also among my favorite vocalists in this world. So I'm privileged. I'm working with some of my absolute favorite vocalists in the band. So what more can I say? It's perfect.
Okay. Well, Øystein, the sad times arrive at this interview. I hope you enjoyed this one like me. As I mentioned, this fall is a big stone. Usually, Borna has their essence in all albums for me. I mostly had all albums on CD. That's why I love this band, or your band especially. So perhaps do you want to add, and congratulations on this new album, it's a great one as usually. Perhaps do you want to add something to your Latin American fans and obviously Metallian followers?
Oh yeah, I mean, we are really, as I said before, we are hoping to get back to the South America as soon as possible. I don't think we will be able before 25, around that time. And of course, I hope that people in South America, all our friends in South America, will check out the new album, because I think that a lot of people will find energy, will find solace, will find a lot of great stuff in the new album, and hopefully some people will like it. That's my easy message. Check it out. Check out the new album. Hope you like it.